friends, welcome back to Food Prep Guide. We have an extra fun video for you today for those of you who love ice cream. My husband found an ice cream maker recently that someone was just throwing out to the curb to throw away, and it was perfectly fine. We got it washed up, and ever since my kids have been begging to make some homemade ice cream in it. So I was looking through the instruction manual and reading through the recipes. We were going to be making about a 4-quart size recipe for our family of 5, and the ingredients were they used milk, heavy whipping cream, and half and half. And when I calculated the cost for all of those ingredients for a 4-quart batch, it was going to cost over $20 for us to make that. And I was like, sorry kids, we can't do that. So I thought about gelato. I know that gelato doesn't use, well, it does use cream. It uses milk, I should say, but it gets its fatty content from egg yolks instead. Now, I understand that the price of eggs right now is through the roof, and it may not be cost effective if you do not raise chickens, but we raise chickens, and so we're essentially get the eggs for free. We pay for the feed. Of course, it's not for free completely, but as far as going to the store and buying eggs, we aren't doing that. So this recipe is very frugal for our family. And if you are someone who raises chickens and in the springtime and the summertime, you know how it is where you have eggs coming out the wazoo and need to get those used up. And this is an extra special treat to use up those egg yolks, making an extra yummy frozen treat in the form of gelato. Let's get started. Welcome to Food Prep Guide. My name is Jordan. I'm a homeschooling mom to 3, living on 3 beautiful acres with my wonderful husband. A health crisis forced our family to change the way we think about food. Unfortunately, it also put us in financial hardship. Thankfully, the solution to both challenges was the same: to live off the land as much as possible. For us, that means growing a garden, preserving the harvest, raising chickens, and cooking from scratch. It's definitely a family affair. And friends, too. Meet Stacy, researcher, author, and lifelong learner. She entered the world of food preservation in the crazy days of 2020. She joined a gleaning co-op, and a local grocer offered her clearance produce in bulk. And so the adventure began. Together, we're reclaiming the old ways of food stewardship and teaching them to the next generation. If there's one thing you should know about us, it's that we love Jesus and seek to steward his blessings wisely. Our table always has room for one more, so y'all come join us. The first step in this recipe is to get your milk heated up. This recipe is, it made 3 quarts, and so for 3 quarts we needed 9 cups of milk. If I had my big stock pot available, I would have used that, but a deep skillet worked as well. You want to heat it over pretty low heat. I think I put it on a 3 on my stovetop because you really do not want to let it burn. You want to keep on mixing it and just make sure it doesn't scorch on the bottom. While that is heating up, you want to get your eggs prepared. Remember, this is a gelato recipe, so we're going to be turning to eggs instead of cream or creamer or whipping cream or anything like that. So we need 15 egg yolks. So you want to separate the yolks from the whites. I ended up putting the whites in the fridge and made a good egg white omelet the next day so that they didn't go to waste. But we need 15 egg yolks. We need 2 1/4 cup of sugar. And then we decided to make chocolate. So we used 1 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips. I will say that it would have worked better if we had used like melted baker's chocolate instead. So once the milk is nice and heated through, you don't want it to boil, so just before it comes to a boil, turn it off and take it off of the heat, and then do the rest of your prep. In a large mixing bowl, I used my stand mixer because you'll need to beat this egg mixture that you're about to see. You'll need to beat it for 5 to 10 minutes, which is going to get really tiring by hand, but use whatever mixer that you have available. And we put it on low and, like I said, let it go for about 5 to 10 minutes and get that mixture nice and smooth. You will know when it's done whenever you can take a spatula and it drips off very slowly off the spatula, as you can see here. You can see it looks slightly grainy, but it's still pretty smooth. That's the stage that you want it at. At this point, you will take some of the milk, not all of it, just enough to get your mixture a lot more
liquidy, so it's not quite so thick. I think we ended up doing 3 scoops of this milk mixture, and then constantly stirring it, constantly whisking it, and I would use a whisk, not a spatula for this. You need to get that milk extremely good and incorporated into your egg mixture. So we're just kind of slowly going through, and you can see I had a lot of helping hands with this recipe, but we're just slowly going through and adding the milk and whisking constantly throughout the process to make it nice and smooth and not clumpy. Once you have a smooth, liquidy mixture, you can go ahead and pour that into your milk. And again, you'll want to keep constantly whisking it in as you pour it in because it clumps back up really easily. So constantly whisk it as you are stirring it in, and then once it's all in your pan, just continue to whisk it for quite a while. I think we ended up whisking it for probably 5 minutes straight. At this point, it is back on medium heat, but again, you don't want to bring it to a boil. Just kind of keep it on medium heat, stirring it pretty constantly. This is a recipe where you kind of do have to babysit it, but the results are worth it. I mean, delicious gelato at the end, yes please. So it's worth it, but you do kind of have to babysit it a little bit. But basically just cook it on low to medium heat. Don't let it come to a boil and until it's ready for the next step. And that next step is adding your other ingredients. So we did 1.5 teaspoons approximately of vanilla, but I never measure with vanilla, just do it to taste pretty much. And add your chocolate chips or your melting chocolate. I do recommend, you'll see in a minute why I recommend using melting chocolate instead. But do whatever your flavor options for chocolate, this is where you would put it in. Cook it on low to medium heat until it coats the back of the spoon like you see here, and then you can go ahead and turn it off the heat and remove it from the heat source. After it cools to room temperature, you'll want to scoop everything into your ice cream machine bucket thing. I don't really know what to call that, but canister maybe. But basically just get your liquid mixture into the canister. If you can see, the chocolate really isn't superly well incorporated into the milk mixture. And that's what I mean by it would have been better to use a melting baker's chocolate instead of chocolate chips. We just don't have any. It's not something I buy in stock. And this was somewhat of a last minute decision to make this. And all we had was chocolate chips on hand. But as you can see, it really settled at the bottom here. Now the end result, I mean, it tastes like chocolate gelato. So it wasn't a fail by any means, but I do recommend using baker's chocolate. At this point, put their canister in the refrigerator for 12 to 18 hours or just overnight. The next day, you are ready to put it in your ice cream maker. You'll want to layer ice cream rock salt like you just saw with ice and alternate those layers all the way up to the canister and then plug it in and let it run. Your recipe booklet should tell you about how long to let it run. I believe we let ours run for about 30 minutes. Here's the paddle that I'm taking out. You can see the consistency of it, all those chocolate flakes. That's those chocolate chips that didn't mix in super well. But at this step, all you do is put it in the freezer. And we put it in the freezer until it was thick enough and hard enough for our, just what we wanted. And I think we put it in the freezer for about 2 hours. Here's what the finished product looks like. It wasn't as smooth as it could have been. We also ended up adding some peanut butter to it. I forgot to mention that right before we put it into the freezer. You can add in whatever mix-ins you want. I hope that was helpful. Hope y'all enjoy it if you try it. That's all for today. We'll see you next time. Bye.